Hi, I'm Alan Douglas. Welcome to my studio. This painting is called Seelie Sentry, and I'd like to show you how I use my glazing technique to separate various elements within the composition. Let's get started. So this is Seelie Sentry. It's almost completed, but I do want to do a little bit of glazing here. So let me share with you some of my reference. These are photographs that I took myself of some milkweed out in the field. So if you look at my painting, it's largely comprised of this photo and this photo. But what I want to do is create some separation between this plant, which is behind this plant. Right now they're kind of blending together a little more than my liking. It's getting a little confusing in this area here, so I want to glaze back the farther plant. So to do that, I'm going to use colors similar to what I've been using in the whole painting, a greenish grayish tone with a little bit of Payne's gray in it to cool it down. And this is acrylic, so you have to work pretty quick. This is part of the rear plant. I'll use a little water towards the edges of where I'm laying down pigment, and when it dries it'll be a little less noticeable. Another thing I have is a damp sponge without any sharp corners. So I will get rid of a little bit of that extra moisture and just tamp it down a little, because I don't like some of those brush strokes that I will get if I don't do this. And what I will probably have to do eventually is go back in and just touch up the foreground one just a little bit where there's some overlap of this glaze. What I do over here, I also want to do over here, because obviously it's in the same space. If I get too many brush strokes, I can just tamp it up or use my sponge. As you can see, I'm just wiping off some of the excess paint, drying out my brush just a little bit. Sometimes the sponge gets a little too wet. I've mentioned it before that the sponge gives it a little bit of a texture to it. It's very subtle, but I actually like that better than some of the brush strokes. Oops. Carefully don't paint your iPad. Now I don't mind if it's a little confusing. I just wanted to put an extra layer of atmosphere between those two plants. So now I'm trying to judge if it's enough or not. So in certain areas I can use the brush strokes to my advantage if I just go with the directions of some of these grasses in the background. Sometimes it gets some inconsistencies in the surface as things are still wet, and it looks like you might need to address it, when in reality once it dries it turns into a nice flat surface and it's not even an issue. I also want to glaze this top left corner a little bit. But that's how I use a glaze to separate elements in a picture. The two plants were a little too close in value for my taste, so I just wanted to set that one back as if it's, you know, 2 or 3 feet in the distance from this foreground plant. And I will probably do a few more touch-ups here and there after it dries to an even surface so I can see if anything else needs adjusting, but this one is pretty much done, other than some minor stuff. Thanks for watching.